Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, welcome to what I believe will be one of the most practical and an honest discussion in this conference. Let me start with a small correction. We are only 4 panelists. We have 2 of them who could not join, so that gives us some extra time as well for discussion. Okay. Let me start with some numbers to set in some context. It is estimated that in 2024, around $400 billion was spent across globe on continuous education. And this could be various forms of continuing education. Could be a behavioral change programs or a skill-based program or even a formal higher education program. And this figure, or the investment on education, is growing at a very rapid numbers in the Middle East. The number says that in Saudi Arabia and UAE put together, it's compounding around 20%. Yet, in last year, when McKinsey asked around 1,200 global leaders, global executives, about whether they would be able to prove a meaningful ROI on the learning investments, what they do, 8% said yes. Just 8%, right? So that brings us to today's topic of asking, how do you know the worth of the investments you make on continuing education, or in simple terms, the ROI part of it? And when I say the word worth, it is not just a feel-good worth I'm talking about. I'm not talking about taking some of the check boxes which you have in the corporates, or not even, oh yes, we completed the program and we got the certificates. We are talking about cold, hard, evidence-based returns on revenue, retention, productivity, and innovation capabilities, and of course, some socioeconomic impacts which we get. So to bring this particular topic, I have an excellent panel over here who have some varied experiences and exposure in different domains, but all related to the learning side of it. We have somebody who creates IT solutions for students, and every click gives data which can be interpreted and used for measuring some of those key elements which we want to know. We have somebody who is on a mission, who uplifts students from rural and semi-urban parts of India, and ensuring their employment part of it, or getting an absorption part of it. We also have an instructional designer in the panel who ensures that the slides, what he prepares, are going to be not just addressing what just the training, but of course, keeping in mind the returns part of it. And we also have a safety and health and safety expert who provides training program, and the results could be even saving life as well. So we have an interesting panel to talk around about this particular topic. And while we say about most of those factors on ROI, on continuing education, you should also keep in mind that we are talking about a timeline which is really tough for us. And the question looks very simple, but it will be definitely complex, and I'm sure most of you know that it's a very subjective matter expression. We are talking about this particular topic in the times of where AI and automation, we've been hearing about AI in almost every single discussion we are having over here. I'm sure it's across all the halls what we have. These technologies are creating the shelf life of the current skills which we needed to almost like half of it. And of course, youth is asking questions like, is it worth it? I mean, what is the payoff for me while I invest my time or even money? And of course, the decision makers in businesses always talk about, let's say, is it worth investing? What is the return I'm going to get in? So that's a context by which we are going to discuss this. So join me to welcome the panelists over here. And I straight away go to Mr. Rajat Chaturvedi. And Rajat is the business head of ISECT. He's in India. And he has been an HR leader as well in his prior roles before taking over the educational side of it. And he comes with a diverse exposure or experiences in different regions, ensuring the students are getting absorbed in different industry verticals. And he's also an Outstanding Leadership Award winner of 2022, Dubai Education 2.0. Welcome, Rajat.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
All right. So, Rajat, you have been on both sides of the table. You've been in HR for a quite number of years and the leadership roles. And then now you are on the business side of education to ensuring students are getting absorbed rightfully. And I know that you are on a mission to always taking it to the global levels as well. So the question to you is like this. If you were to point out one figure you can show on ROI, what it could be, and how do you also capture the intangibles which are there in most of the continuing education programs which we have?
Okay. Just to set the context of the question first, when we talk about the continued education or continued learning, there will always be two parts to it. One is a tangible and one is a non-tangible part of it. The tangible part definitely is something which is quite visible on the balance sheets and the revenues which are coming in.
True.
But there is always a strong point that we need to keep in mind that those revenues and those tangible things are coming because there is a lot of non-tangible thing which is happening but not captured. So now when we talk about the non-tangible parts of it, the continued learning can give you a behavioral change, can give you a sense of ownership, can give you a sense of responsibility. And even if we have to just put it in some forms, a leadership development program is a kind of a non-tangible continued learning that we are talking about. When such things are happening, those things are in any which ways getting translated into the productivities and the revenues, which are the tangible benefits, and the ROI is what we're talking about, the continued learning formats. Now, as you asked me a question that what is one point that I would want to highlight, I would definitely say that the retention of the employee is something that I would want to highlight on a very vast scale. Because there has been a lot of studies from the Forbes, from the global side, wherein it has come out very loud and clear that when there is a continued learning, when there is a career progression, when there is a career advancement basis on the skill advancements what the company is providing, 72 to 78% of employees get retained with the organization. They grow with the organization. So when they are growing with the organization, that is definitely the human asset that they are building, and that is the biggest ROI what we can talk about. Now, even if that has to be translated into numbers, hiring a backfill or a replacement of a candidate is somewhere between a 50% to a 200% of the salary cost that comes, depending on the roles on which the candidate is being replaced for. There is a replacement cost, there is a training cost, there is a time, energy, money, which any which ways gets translated into certain numbers. That is all that is going when you are not able to retain a candidate. And to highlight that one particular thing, I would say retention is the most important part that I would want to highlight as a part of the non-tangible ROIs that an organization or an institution can look at.
Right. Thanks. I agree with you on that point, Rajat. Even cost of rehiring versus retention, I think, you gave a figure. I think if it's higher the role, that could even go up to 250, 300% as well.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Rajat. Just to
Just one more thing to add to that is that when we are actually like this is one classic example that is being used everywhere when we talk about it is uh, when we are actually doing a retention increase by a 8%, your ROI increase in terms of revenue is somewhere around 1.2 million. That's a cross functional that you can look at, because that is just not the productivity or the money that has come. That is a non-tangible part, the ROIs which is coming in terms of your time saving, in terms of your energy saving, in terms of your cost savings. Everything cannot be revenue. The cost save is a kind of a profit that you have booked, reductions of the bottom lines. So when we say that from my HR experience for 17 long years, what I had, that's a classic example that we've always been using. An 8% of increase in the retention is somewhere around 1.2 million saved. So that it itself shows that how much important the non-tangible benefits of the continued educations are.
right. Excellent. So just to follow up on what you mentioned, how do you make sure those intangibles actually turn to measurable long-term behavioral changes?
Okay, now this is something very tricky question. Why? Because we are trying to measure something which is a very qualitative thing, and we are trying to bring it on the balance sheet. So that's the most trickiest part of it. But when we are trying to do it, the most significant and the easiest way is a weighted scorecards. We can always look at the weighted scorecard measures, wherein the moment you start having the weighted scores for all these particular attributes which is coming in. Now, the attributes are definitely getting translated into revenues and the ROIs. But for an employee aspect, what is an amount of ownership that he takes? What is an involvement of, I would say, what is an innovative involvement that this candidate is bringing in, the employee is bringing in? What is a sense of ownership what he has? What is a skill domain enhancement that he has shown quarter on quarter? So that all are the attributes that can come in as a weighted scorecard for an employee, which eventually, when consolidated, is technically giving you the benefits which you are gaining out of the continued education. And that for people from the accounts and the finance team becomes much more easier to translate in terms of the revenue and the productivities.
Thanks, Rajat. Now I'm moving to Alex Arthur. His profession is into creating IT solutions, and with 30 years of experience in providing solutions to various industry verticals. Currently, he is the Chief Revenue Officer of Arbonne, and which is one of the fastest growing North American education technology organization. Alex, the question to you.
Okay.
When continuing education leaders calculate ROI today, are they still chasing the short-term completion rates, or you see a difference in the way they measure the outcomes?
Thank you for the question, and good afternoon, everyone. So, before I answer your question, yes, I'm with Auburn, and we provide cloud-based solutions for career colleges as well as higher post-secondary education and continuing education institutions. So, as Chief Revenue Officer, what is my qualification sitting here with this esteemed panel? I talk to institution leaders like yourself and other institutions day in and day out, and there's always the question of justification of why am I doing this? As your colleague here earlier on said, there's intangibles and intangibles. The easiest way that we see organizations right now is still dealing with the tangibles. And those tangibles are easy to deal with. You have your simple thing like your balance sheet, your expenses and revenue. And so those are the tangible things. You have a program in, the program is up there. you charging students, and you can easily quantify it, have your report, go to the board, present, we're doing well, we're doing this, X, Y, and Z. But as you can see from my colleague over here, organizations are asking, they want more from the system rather than the balance sheet. So how do you explain, or how do you help answer that question? Before I start that, I want to try and really delve into a little bit about the tangibles so that we make it clear. There are a couple of key things in the tangibles that you have to take care of. Right. First one we talked about is your revenue and expenses. That's simple and straightforward. Right. The second one that typically gets measured is your completions and surveys. So a lot of you who have continuing education, you probably had 50 students start, you had 49 or 50 students complete. They all gave you a good survey. They will recommend your program, X, Y, and Z. It's tangible. You can report that, show progress to the board from there. The third one, and the other key part, is some regulated programs, most notably nursing and other programs that we see in the United States, North America, typically United States and Canada. The nurses have to get recertified on a regular basis. And so they take these continuing education courses and get recertified. It's easy. You can follow up on that. Did you get your certification? So you met your primary goal. Now, the problem is investors, organizations, leaders are saying, we want more. How do we measure that? How are you able to talk about the intangibles that we were talking about right now? Right. So there are a few pointers that come to mind. The first one, which you talked about, which is retention. Yes, you've got employees, they're getting new skills, they are happy. You guys, and the employer is happy, employee is happy, they're learning more from you and they stay from you. But there are other intangibles as well that play a part in here. Some of the other intangibles are performance and productivity uplift. Right? And so leaders are asking the question of, we're spending this much money on continuing education. How is that affecting the work culture? How is that affecting our staff in their day-to-day attitude towards the work? How do you measure that? These are some of the questions that come as part of the intangibles that you need to be able to address when you're putting this continuing education program and pitching it to your client. All right. And then the second one that I want to talk about is institutional reputation. Now, most of you here are education leaders. You may put a program together and then partner with a big university or so. In the States, there are a lot of solution providers like that that will partner with bigger universities, and they call them the global campuses. So you find the Maryland Global Campus, Purdue University Global Campus, and those universities are worried more about providing the bachelor's, the master's, doctoral degrees. They are not skilled to provide those continuing education. And so they partner with organizations like you to provide the information. Some of them do not even have content, right? And so when they partner with you, you provide them that information. But how are you going to be able to justify that? Yes, you can say, I'm working with Purdue University, but it's worth your business. These are some of the things you need to be able to justify to Purdue University. This degree is worth it. This certificate, that continuing education piece is worth it. Right. And then moving on, the third one, that the intangibles as well you want to talk about is your human capital and economic resilience. Same thing. You have organizations that are explicitly framing ROI around the future-proof skills. There was a previous discussion panel here that talked about AI and people getting skills for AI. And so all of a sudden now there is this, you put on an AI course. I may be a factory worker. Now I take the AI course. How does that reflect me for my future proof skills? And does that help with the intangibles of other one of the retention? That now I've got a skill that I can move, I can grow, or now am I going to have that skill and then basically say, oh, there's another company that's going to pay me more, so I'm moving on. All right, so you have to be able to address these intangibles from them. All right, and then I know it's time, so I need to move on quickly here. Then we come to actually how do we measure this? And there's a measurement gap over there because, like my colleague said, it's intangibles. So you have to think of how do you measure this? How much is that program worth? And I'll give a quick example. We have a client in northeastern Canada, and they initially signed up with us for a nursing program. And we were going through this same exercise, trying to quantify the investment so that the CFO could go to the board and actually justify the expense. So what we did was we just took all the data out of the system, all the way down to the quiz, answers to the quizzes and everything. And then we ran it through AI, ChatGPT, and came up with some conclusions. Long story short, when they were presenting the solution to the client, which happens to be the state of Newfoundland, the province of Newfoundland, the governor asked, where did you get all this information from? So they said, oh, our partner dumped all the data and we ran it through AI. Right there, governor goes, hang on a minute. So you guys do AI as well? How about you guys go, think about it, put on an AI class so that we've got some money in the budget we've got to spend. So now that client, based on that intangibles of at least starting from somewhere, now has an added business of providing AI class as well. So yes, there are intangibles, but you have to start somewhere and then build on from there.
Thank you, Alex. One of the changes, let's say a professional trying to join a particular organization, what they normally also look at is how good is the organization in terms of providing some of those new age skills, and kind of a big factor on the being an employer of choice, right? So that leads me to the next question. So all of this computation, which we try to do, or the ROI calculation, are organizations still seeing it as a kind of a backward-looking kind of a document, or they use it as a great weapon to get funding and etc.? I mean, forward-looking stuff.
So going back to the example I just gave you right now, that's a classic example of where you're looking at it as an investment moving forward. The intangibles question that is being asked, it's here. They're going to ask and keep asking. So the leaders who are able to get on the bandwagon now and start answering those questions, you are the ones who are going to succeed in this continuing education business. Quite honestly, if you're still just based on revenue and expenses, you will see your business is going to stay stagnant and start shrinking. Those that are able to answer the intangible questions Like our colleague here gave some numbers earlier on. Those are the ones that are going to succeed in this business. So start somewhere, at least. If you don't have anything, have a system that can give you all the data. And then please, when you put it through ChatGPT, just don't write one-line sentence. Right? Give it a whole paragraph or even a page. Give it your conclusions, what you think, and challenge the system to analyze the data and either agree with you or give you a new way of thinking with what you've got. The information is in your data. So you have to pull the data and then give the parameters to your AI module, be it ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, whatever, Gemini. Give it as much parameters as possible and let it tell you what it sees.
Thank you, Alex. Moving quickly to Sudhir, different dimension. Sudhir is an instructional designer, a freelance instructional designer, and he is also a practitioner from the industry in the core engineering side of it. So he brings a different perspective. So Sudhir, as an instructional designer, what is one design decision you would make to ensure that a strong ROI comes into the program which is to be delivered?
Thanks, Justin. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Sudhir from India. I'm an instructional designer. So I've been a freelancer and I've been working for different organizations for past a decade. The reason I'm an instructional designer, so if you don't know what the role instructional design is, it's not web designing or interior designing. I design instruction that helps people understand, be it the kids or even the corporate folks, be it the training or the education better. So the reason I chose education, in India we say vidya dadati gnanam and gnanam dadati sukham. That means education and knowledge gives you worthiness and they give you success. And successful education gives you ability to create a better society which is future-proof and happy. So that's the reason I chose education. And I'm glad I'm here today because I've learned a lot of things about education. Of course, there are a lot of ways to learn. Like other panelists mentioned, I can learn from AI, which can make mistakes. But I've learned from real people who told us the real experiences that they've shared. So to talk about the ROI part, I can split it into two answers. One based on andragogy, which is teaching the corporate folks or adults per se, and the pedagogy, which is the kids, are more of a theoretical way of teaching. So if you think about kids, we're teaching for the sake of teaching. So they just learn, they don't understand the application. But teaching kids has evolved a lot, let's say, from past few generations. When I talk to my grandma, she would say, we've written on the sand. We didn't have, slates, we didn't have paper, yet we have learned a lot of things. But if you ask the current generation, the kids would say they would need an iPad to play and learn A for apple and B for ball. The reason being, the generation have evolved based on what's around them. Because today, if you see, there are a lot of TVs and mobiles people are engaging with, kids are engaging with, and that changes the way they learn. And AI today has changed, it took it to another level. So the way how we design, decides the return on the investment. Let me take an example of my daughter. She's 4 now, and I have to join her to the school. And I took her to the school, and there was an observation session, and they were asking her the questions. So she didn't learn anything. All she knew was ABC and 1, 2, 3, that's all. And I taught most of the things in my mother tongue, Telugu, one of the many languages in India. And they were like, she didn't say even a single word in English. She just said ABC and 1, 2, 3, that's all. But she was very active. So now I need to, invest a ton of money on her and just to see what she learns for LKG and UKG. So here, my part was to make sure she gets a quality education that she can remember. And also, she may not be applied today, but tomorrow she should be able to apply it. So what I had to do, find the right application for her. Even if I invest, let's say there is an iPad application which is so famous today, it shows how to draw A with 3-point methodology. So they would start at point 1, point 2, and point 3. Once you finish A, it would show apple, and it pops up, and then they collect that apple. So they collect from the right from A to Z and collect all the ties just like they do, in real. So the kind of investment that we're doing, if it's worth it, be it, whether we spend a lot of money on it, if we see the kids are applying it, if she's learning A to Z, then it's worth it. I think that's how, as an instructional designer, when I designed content for K-12, I had to come up with a lot of simulations, that are meaningful, memorable, and motivational. It's not that we tell people, just go ahead and learn, you have an application. We should make sure they memorize it and the content motivates them. And that's one of the applications for pedagogy. And if you think about andragogy, today we see a lot of corporate folks need training, be it the new onboardees or new folks who join the company. They wouldn't know anything about, the software within the company that they join. So we have to create a training that helps them, quickly adapt and get to the work. So how we do this? We may create simulations. We can create them a few PowerPoint slides, or we can just give them a video. So all of this involves money. But what really helps them is what I, as an instructional designer, has to decide. So if I need to tell you one of the examples, so there was a new department launched within the company. Then I had to tell people, visually that there is this department that can help you, with your decisions, with leadership management and everything. But hardly 20 people knew within the organization that there is this department, organizational development, that can help you. So I had to improve the reach, and I had to tell them, in a visual way that, organizational department does this. This is the team. This is who you can reach out to when you have certain, need. So I created a campaign, gamified campaign, where people go on and click on, one of the features of organizational development, and they would play a simple quiz based on a game, that's very adult-based. It's not for kids. So they would click on it, they go to the SharePoint site, they learn about us, every team member, and what each team member does for the organization. That kind of changed, the way the organizational development department was working, and that works today. And it drastically improved people, who use the organizational development tools. So for me, measuring ROI is not just about the numbers or the investment, but also the quality of the content, whether it's helping them, get the work done. At the end of the day, you measure them, with what they do, but not just looking at the numbers. You may invest a lot of money on them, but if it isn't helpful, there is no point investing so much money just because the content has already gone waste. So that's one of my ways of telling how ROI works.
Thanks, Sudhir. You interact with a lot of clients on various programs which you custom design, bespoke programs. When it comes to the budgeting aspect, I'm sure you will get a lot of resistance in terms of, I want it cheaper, I want it faster, right? Being a designer and knowing what are the deliverables, what is that one thing you will do to defend that without killing any of those intangibles?
Sure. So yes, that's definitely a very first question for me. When I start with, analysis part, the client would ask me, yes, you may have 1,000 ideas, but I have this budget. I can't go beyond this budget. Yet I need, content that serves the purpose, that helps my folks to get the work done. So one of the ways that I can do is look at the purpose of that specific task. So there are 1,000 ways. Like I said, I can gamify them. I can give them just a few PowerPoint presentation slides. But to ensure, the content serves the purpose, I need to talk to the stakeholders and get the skill assessment done. Meaning, get the skill gaps. What is that's missing, that the learners need to, take the skill as a part of their job, or be it the kids, what do they need to learn? So when we design a complex game, or 10 PowerPoint slides that are so heavy that they can't even understand, it doesn't matter. But even if it's a simple tasks, be it a one slide or just a simple, quiz that can serve the purpose of achieving that specific task, is what I, as an instructional designer, need to look at. And obviously, let me tell you one of the examples. So for one of the clients, I was designing the instruction for one of the new features that they have released for their software. Now, what I thought of doing, since AI is here, I thought of creating a chatbot. So, because they had trouble navigating within the course, most people would come back and tell me whenever there is a complex simulation, people would go crazy. I don't know how to play with the simulation. Yes, there is a lot of information that I can gain, but I don't know where to click and how to use the information. So we invest a lot of time creating that simulation, but it's going waste because people can't interact with it. So I thought of creating a chatbot that can quickly answer their questions and guide them through. I spent a lot of time creating the chatbot. Whenever they click on the wrong places, it would pop up and say, you are clicking on a wrong place. Why don't you click here? See this information and all of that. So when finally it went to the stakeholder, and I thought in the perspective of the learner, that, it's very helpful now. They may not have any problems at all. Yes, it did tick all the boxes for the learner, but for the stakeholders, he did not understand why would you use a chatbot for such a simple task. All they needed to learn was a new feature for the software. You could have just given them, the previous, features that it had. What else is different from the previous version? You could have created a simple quiz. So I need to come up with a solution that simplifies, achieving that specific task, if not complicating it using the methodologies that I know. So I think that's one of the best ways to convince any client to make it simple, because learners' time is very precious. We should never waste it, is what every instructional designer has to say.
Thank you, Sudhir. Quickly moving to Raj Mohan Subramanian. His profile provides definitive numbers. He's a 25 years experienced veteran in the health and safety training. He is a founder of RNP Tech and director of Ensure Safe, based out of Singapore. He provides training programs for construction industry and petrochemical industry. So, Mr. Subramanian, the question to you is, your set of training programs, which are around health and safety and ensuring the planned process safeties, you have a definitive method of showing the returns. It could be less injury time leading to lesser insurance claims, possibly. And while your interactions with the various clients, how do you showcase this?
Okay, good afternoon to all. My name is Raj Mohan. Yeah, basically I'm Singapore. Basically I'm a safety officer and a fire safety manager. I'm an environmental control officer. I'm an auditor as well. I'm a course curriculum developer as well. So I got more than 25 years in different industries, even construction, petrochemical, manufacturing, semiconductors, chemical industries, various industry. I work in its various roles. Okay, when I look out for ROI for safety training and future of learning impact. Okay, so let me give me a CEO level answers. Right, what is a CEO actually care about? Let's say you look out in Mike, right? Yeah. So look out in the construction, always keep in the ROI story to one thing. The percentage reduction in the last time injury rate and dollar value of injury we prevented. Right, here what we do, we take a LTR, I mean the last time injury rate for 12 months. Let's say we conduct a course for workplace safety and control measures, even we have process plan for workers level, supervisors, managers as well. If we contact before implementation, then we compare it against after 12 months after the training is rolled out and actually embedded into the daily work. That the drop in LTIR tells us how many last time injury were avoided based on the man hours work. Then we attach real numbers. Let's say we look at medical bills and lost wages, overtimes, replacement of manpowers, and basic administration costs. The typical insurance claim and impact. So when you multiply the avoided cases by those cost components, you get a very concrete message for the senior leadership. After the training, you avoided roughly X last time injuries. What is dollars in a claims, penalties, and cost of disruption for a training investment of number of dollars. And that leads to the one sentence that every board understands. Every dollar you invested in training prevented about number of dollars in injuries and insurance costs. That's ROI story in the line, one line. Okay, second, what does ROI actually show up? The honest answers. Let me break in this to 3 phases. 0 to 3 months, leading indicators move first. The first signs of improvements are behavioral, not financial. So you will see the more hazard reports and more near-miss reporting and safe work procedures being followed and faster close of findings and better observation quality. These appears quickly in the dashboards, but the injury numbers may still look noisy at this stage. When you look at 6 to 12 months, the injury rates shows in a clear trend. This is where you start seeing a defensible downward trend in LTAR, last time injury rate, provided the site actually applies what was taught. By this point, we can credibly say your LTAR dropped from X to Y after the training and interventions. This is when organizations begin to feel the real financial impact. Let's say look out 12 to 18 months, the insurance premium catch up. The insurance premium reduction only show up the REX renewal cycle because the insurers need at least 1 full year of clean data. Avoiding fines immediate, but they are case specific. For example, no stop work orders and no repeat regulatory offenses. So in summary, I will say is behavior shifts within a quarter. Injury rate and cost reduction become solid in 6 to 12 months. The insurance premium benefits appear renewable. If let's say number 3, look out for let's say 2030 ROI metrics. Now will let me where I believe the industry going. By 2030, I think simple most important ROI metrics for training will be outcome per learning hours. Not how many courses we run, how many people attended, and how many certificate we issue. Instead of that, the boards will ask for every learning hours we paid for, and how much did revenue go up, and how much did risk go down, and how much faster or safer did we deliver the project. Because in 2030, the data will integrated. We go for HR system, safety platform, productive tools, and CRM system and others. So we will be able to link specific training pathway to real-world outcomes like fewer injuries and fewer defects and lower turnover, higher close rates and fewer delays, right? More consistent productivities. So this is going to be in. So business impact delivered by learning time, everything else, feedback forms, completion rates and happy phases, those will serve as a diagnostic tools and no indicator of success. Yeah. So let me say a closing wise. So for the CEO today, ROI of a safety training is reduction in injury and costs, and ROI will be the measurable improvement in operation outcome per hours of learning. Yeah, that's all we have in my insight. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess you have a clear before and after scenario to showcase to all your clients, and very well articulated figures to give. And you are brutally honest as well in terms of providing the timelines as well. So thank you. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.
One quick question to common question to all the panel. We are almost we are exceeded the time. So very quickly, 2030. What will be the single most important way we measure ROI of continuing education? Very quickly means 30 seconds. Starting with Rajat.
Okay. When you talk about 2030, to answer that, you will still have to go back in the past for a while, because it has been a while wherein the organizations have stopped working with an old term of management by objectives, because this is more of a task-based things which happens now. Now, over here, the objective is very common for every organization. But to get that particular common objective, you will still have to work on the tangible and the non-tangible parts of the ROI, is what we've been talking in the entire panel discussion. So as in fact, Rajmohan also just confirmed, it's more of the behavioral changes and the attitudinal part that builds in, that eventually translates into your revenue gains that you're looking at. It's not that you do certain changes and that gets you the revenue gains now, but it's more of an investment that you are trying to do, and that will be considered as an investment which you do it now till 2030, and that is where that you see the transformative changes coming in at that point of time in the year when you're talking about at 2030. So the things have to start now. It's not that you're going to do it then. And those tangible and non-tangibles, they have to go in parallel, that have to go in sync with each other. If you take them aloof, separately, I don't see we reaching anywhere with that.
Alex, 2030.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I agree with Raj on that you have to start today. All right, Rome was not built in a day. So you have to start today and start. And what I will encourage all of you to do is get your data, dump as much of your data as possible, get as much scenario, qualify as much of it as possible, and pass it through your AI module, and then gradually build on from there. It's not a light switch approach. You're not going to wait till 2030 and go to your board or whoever and say, voila, here's the new solution. It's not going to work. You fall flat on your face. I agree 100%. But those that start today, you start the conversation today, and then you take one intangibles and then you try to explain it. It will not be perfect. You probably get some pushback from some board members, but you keep working at it. By 2030, you will have a good explanation and will have data to try and explain your intangibles. So my advice to all of you is start today, get a system. If you need help, you can come by, reach out to me. I can give you some advice, and then start getting your data and then run it through and start getting some real tangible and intangible conclusions.
Sudhir, 2030. One.
Yes. So, yeah, I agree with Rajat. So, as he rightly mentioned, both tangible and intangible should go in sync, because the way we design intangibles, decides how the tangibles going to look like. For example, if we design the right content, the right way, and once they complete the training, at the end, if you run the skill assessment, if they've learned all the skills that they need, then that's going to earn, be it the software as a service, and they're serving the clients with those trainings that they build, and it gives them all the revenue back because it does serve the purpose of that specific tool or training. And that way, you're keeping it simple, Keep the training meaningful, manageable, motivational, and memorable, and you get all the money that you invest at the end of the day. Yeah.
Raj Mohan.
I think it's a continuing education is must. It's not optional, right? You need to keep on learning until you die, because from children, you are adult, So end of the day, so you need to learn. It's no choice, right? So by training, I mean, for continuing education, you're going to impact in good and bad as well, right? That's why what we discuss in construction and even all other industries. So beyond your profit and finance, of course, your life of a human, right? Human life is precious. So be continue educate. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to check with the audience. Any varied views anybody want to share? That would be great to know any different perspective, anything. Yeah, I know Samita is smiling, so. Okay, anybody? Any views? Anything which we can share with the entire floor? All right. I guess it's a no. So thank you. Join me in giving a great round of applause for the panelists.